Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? All right, man, let's try this again. I just tried to go live and was having some disruptions in my connection. All right, but I want to speak about this the David Price versus Kamil Sokolowski fight that took place yesterday. Um, Watching that fight, man, Price, he came out, he was using his jab, he was moving around, he was kind of fighting almost like a version of the Klitschko brothers, using the jab, and Tyson Fury a little bit, using his jab with his hands down, moving around, trying to sneak the 1-2, the jab right hand. And then when he got close, he pretty much does what he does in a lot of his fights, man. When he gets close, he grabs. He was trying to hold Sokolowski on the inside when they did get close. And a fight like that, man, he looked dead tired at the end of the fight. Sokolowski looked like he had more in his gas tank after that fight. And that was the funny part. And Sokolowski, when I heard this fight was being announced, I was saying to myself, like, man, this fight right here, man, he might have trouble. Because Sokolowski, although he has you look at his record, you say, oh, complete journeyman, never mind him. He should be able to beat him easily. But you go watch that fight he had with Dillian White. He made Dillian White earn that victory. You know, Dillian White throw some punches, push him back, throw some combinations, get close mid-range. And Sokolowski was covering up, then he'll come back and he was swinging back at Dillian White. And a guy like Price, who can tire easy, or when he gets close, he just wants to clinch automatically. Now, I can see you clinching automatically against guys who are inside threats or inside fighters, guy with high KO percentages. Although it is the heavyweights, anything can happen. But he was just willing to just clinch this guy. And he was sneaking in some good uppercuts, Price. But I don't know, man. I think with David Price, man, in my opinion, I think he just is in a position in his career, man, where he's just, maybe he's got to where he's as good as he's going to get. So I'm not really surprised by the outcome, him getting a decision victory. But I don't know, man. He just doesn't. And then they were talking about him trying to fight Tyson Fury. Him wanting Tyson Fury if Fury comes back. You know, in the UK, I can see the UK crowd getting behind a fight like that, especially for Fury coming back, being out for 2 years. If he takes the fight next year, what, 3 calendar years he's been out? So I can see, them welcoming that fight with open arms. Because anything can happen, right? People still give him the chance that Price can land a big right hand on Fury and put him down. Look what Cunningham did to Fury years ago. They can still roll with that, you know what I mean? But I see him getting outboxed easily, man. Easily in that fight. Even with a Fury that's been out for years. I see Fury easily beating Price. And maybe even stopping Price late. I just see Price fatiguing badly in any fight, no matter who he's in there against. Guy that can, a hard puncher or a guy with a high work rate, just everybody gets in there with, man. He seems to just tire down the stretch. Well, not everybody, but just the fights that he's lost, he tired. And well, shit, he won this fight, and he looked dead tired at the end of the fight. So you guys in the building, man, hit that like button. But yeah, Price, he did what he had to do, man. And he came in a little bit lighter in this fight. I know for the Christian Hammer fight and the fight before that, they were talking about gaining muscle and gaining weight. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I hope this dude isn't trying to gain weight to help his chin, but that's, it was him and his camp's decision. But for this fight, he came in around, I believe it was 258, something like that, 258 pounds. It was under 260. So I thought that was a great idea. And even going into this fight, he was saying that the Hammer fight, he wasn't in the best shape. So it was like, okay, here he goes saying that. A lot of fighters do that, man. Before their fights, they say they're in great shape. Although you're not, a fighter's not going to say, hey, I'm in the worst shape of my life. But you can at least say, hey, I didn't get a full training camp, but we're going to go from here anyways and, try to pull out this victory. But before that fight, he was in great shape, so on and so forth. But now, the lead up to this fight with Kamil Sokolowski, he was saying that he wasn't in the best shape he could have been in. And but even this fight, he came in, like I said, he came in lighter. He came in under 260, and he still looked dead tired at the end. So I don't know, man. Reading the comments. Somebody says, "I hit that like button. I'm gonna jump off before you say who won out of Rigo and Lomo." I don't know what that means. They haven't even fought yet, but um, there's some other fights, man. Let me just cover them real quick. Um, Upcoming fights that are under the radar. If you're not really a huge fan of the heavyweight division, you'll probably care less about these type of fights. But I enjoy these type of fights, man. The first fight, Danu Dubois, he's fighting Dorian Darch. If you've seen AJ fight the guy, stopped him. Eddie Chambers, Ian Lewison, guys like that. He's been stopped by. Even fought Hughie Fury. And Darch is a guy, like, if you watch that AJ fight, he's kind of irky jerky with his head movement. Seems a little bit limited as a fighter. Doesn't have the fastest hands in the world. Doesn't seem to pack the biggest punch. Doesn't have a size advantage. Seems like a tough guy. He's going to be moving it. And even in the AJ fight in that first round, he was slipping some of AJ's right hands and jabs and, trying to throw back with his right hand after he slipped. I think his best chance, man, is to try to slip Dubois one of his right hands or jabs and just try to throw Hail Mary right hands. His only chance. But I definitely see Dubois stopping him, and I guess it could just be one of those fights we'll just compare what he looked like as opposed to Anthony Joshua, because that's who Dubois is being compared to the most, is Anthony Joshua. Let me just read the comments really quick. Mark Parmley says, "Have you seen new CompuBox YouTube channel? Wilder interview on there is interesting to say the least." No, I haven't, man. I'll check that out. I will check that out. I think you sent me a link. If you were the one asking me, have I seen a new YouTube channel? I think that was yesterday, but I'll check that out. Antonio McCray, what it do, man? What's good? Chubb 16. Oh, let me see. Yeah, Chubb 16. The Lomo Rigo fight was not today. No. Miguel Cotto got upset tonight. Saddam Ali, I guess you can call him out upset. He was upset tonight, but no, the Rigo fight, not yet. Yeah, Antonio McCray, I'm up early, man. I'm up early. Salty Sally says, "Whatever happened to Cali Meehan's son?" I put up a training clip of him. I believe he is 5-0. I could be wrong. I believe he's 5-0. He has heavy hands. He's very young. Just hasn't fought. I don't know exactly what's going on, like the backstory. But I'd like to see him back in the ring soon. So yeah, I covered the Dubois versus Dorian Darch fight. For those of you just joined me, man, I was talking about David Price, his fight last night against Kamil Sokolowski, and I was not surprised by the performance. Because Sokolowski is a guy, like I said, he gave Dillian White, he fought Dillian White pretty well. He's been stopped by some guys, but he's a dude that comes to get it, put up the high guard, let you get off, then he'll try to get off. He's a tough dude, man. So I wasn't surprised, and especially with Price gas, and I wasn't surprised by that. So I'll cover that. Cover Danu Dubois versus Dorian Darch is going down December 9th. It'll just be a good fight to compare what he looked like as opposed to AJ, because that's who he's being compared to the most. Funny you bring up George the Gentleman Arias, bro, because I'm about to go over that. About to go over his fight with Curtis Harper that's coming up. That's scheduled for December 14th on BoxRec. Trevor Bryan, yeah, I don't know when he's fighting, man. And he's rated highly by one of the sanction bodies too. It's like, huh? I mean, it's great for him, but as a fan, it's like, how is he rated that? But then you can say that about a lot of the guys that are rated in these sanctioned bodies. But let me get into that George Arias Curtis Harper fight that's scheduled for December 14th. Interesting fight, man. And I really don't know who to pick in that fight. Now, Curtis Harper, some of you guys remember him. He had the war with Chris Arreola on PBC. Very entertaining fight. Both guys were very out of shape for that fight. That's probably what made it so entertaining. But even if both of them dudes were in shape, just their style mesh would probably make for an entertaining fight. But being that they were out of shape, gassing out a little bit, and just throwing Hail Marys, it made it that more entertaining to watch. But Curtis Harper, not his last fight, because he came back and won a fight after the loss to Zhilei Zhang, who's another guy I'm going to talk about briefly here. But Harper lost to Gjergjaj. He got knocked out. He got stopped quick in that fight. And Harper came into that fight, I think he was like 50 pounds less than he was for the Ariola fight. So he took it very seriously. Gjergjaj is a guy who had a silver medal in 2008 Olympics, and he made it to the 2012 Olympic Games as well. He's 18-0 right now. I believe he's still a Rock Nation Southpaw. He is somebody that I heard Eddie Hearn, after Joshua won the title, you guys remember, he is somebody that Eddie Hearn did mention, trying to find him in, trying to get a fight with him in China for one of AJ's title defenses. He did bring it up. I remember doing a video about it here on YouTube. But yeah, so Arias versus Harper, tough fight, man. It's a tough fight. Now you may say Harper just got stopped, although he came back and won. I believe he beat Andrew Greeley in the meantime or after that fight. But Arias just went tooth and nail with Mario Heredia. But these are the type of fights that get Arias prepared, because Heredia is a guy that fought Joseph Parker in the World Series of Boxing. Very entertaining fight that was. And Heredia also fought Andre Fedosa, which was another good fight. Although he hit the canvas a few times in that fight, he will come to fight and he throws punches. And he made Arias earn that fight. He even put Arias down. Now, Harper and Gjergjaj in that fight, unlike a guy like Ariola, who's going to just throw bombs back and forth with you, Gjergjaj's a little bit more patient. He stayed on top of Harper. He's a lot taller than Harper. He's about 6'6", and he's a lefty. And that punch that he hit Harper with, Harper kept bending down in that fight to his right. So when he bent down, he never seen that straight left that Gjergjaj kind of threw at a downward angle almost. And it clipped him, looked like it clipped him on the top of his forehead as he was ducking down. It was just a weird shot. He never recovered when he got up. And then he got finished, then Gjergjaj just finished him off. But Zhang was being very patient in that fight. And Harper, although he was in shape, he kept being a little bit wild with his right hand. He was throwing that right hand. And he's orthodox fighter. So when he was throwing that right hand, he was literally letting his back foot, his right foot, come off the ground. And I was sitting there like, damn, he's being a little bit wild. Like he was impatient with that right hand. It was almost like he was looking for the type of fight he had with Ariola. And Gjergjaj was being patient, man, waiting. And then he snuck that left hand down the pike on him, man. So Harper never recovered. I would have loved to see how that fight would have looked going into later rounds with Gjergjaj. But this Arias fight, Arias, I think, will give him more opportunities. Probably not as much as Ariola, but Arias likes to come forward. He can box a little bit. I've seen Arias go on the back foot, but I think his game is more coming forward, bending, rolling, ducking shots, and coming back with punches. And being that he wants to let his work go, I think Harper will have a better chance of having a dust-up with Arias. But like I said, Arias can get on that back foot a little bit. But if Harper's a little bit more patient in this fight than he was in the Gjergjaj fight, man, that's a toss-up fight to me, Arias versus Harper. I think that's really a toss-up fight in my opinion. Del Boy 94 was good, man. Good to have you in the building. So I covered George Arias, Curtis Harper. I covered Price versus Kamil Sokolowski, what I thought about that fight. Covered Daniel Dubois, Dorian Darch. Now let me get to Gjergjaj versus Herb Hubo. Hubo is a guy who's 28-2. He fought Ajay Cabello for that vacant EBU title that was vacated by Kurbet Pulev. And in that fight, they kind of mirrored each other. Obviously, Cabello beat Hubo, and that was a good fight. Look, I almost want to say that Hubo fought a better fight against Cabello than Chisora did. I think it's debatable. Some people may disagree, but I think it's debatable, man. But Hubo's a guy, high guard. He likes to press. He looked like he got a little bit tired down the stretch when he fought Cabello. But he's fighting, Gjergjaj. I'm favoring Zhang in that fight. Hubo does have a good record, 28-2. But I think Zhang, and I know he got knocked down by Juan Good, but then he also, like I said, made the Olympics twice, and got a silver medal. And he did handle Curtis Harper a lot better than Chris Ariola. And that was a debatable fight, Ariola and Harper. But Gjergjaj right now is on a little run, man. He's rated by one of the, I believe the WBO. I don't have the rankings in front of me. Um, he's also another guy, like I said, name was being thrown out there. Eddie Hearn was talking about him last year about fighting Joshua. But I expect him to beat Hubo. Uh, but Hubo's going to come forward. He's going to put up the high guard, and I think that's going to be his demise, the high guard thing. I think Gjergjaj's going to jab him. Not so much jab on, move around with the jab, but just kind of peck away, paw, keep him at the end, kind of probe with his jab, look for left hands, move when he has to, hold on the inside when he has to. I think it'll be one of those type of fights. And if he can find a way to be a surgeon with that left hand, kind of throw it around the guard, through the guard, place uppercuts, um, I expect him to control the rhythm of that fight. You know, but Hubo may come out early, man, and try to throw a lot of combinations and press Gjergjaj. You know, so it should be an interesting fight, but I got Hubo winning that fight. Or not Hubo, but I have Gjergjaj winning that fight, all right? And that, I believe, the WBO Oriental title, minor title, but it's just one of those titles, man, that keep you in the rankings and help you move up, all right? We're not acknowledging the title like that, all right? There was two more fights I wanted to talk about. Arnold Gjergjaj. Now, some of you remember him from the David Haye fight. You're probably wondering, why are you talking about this guy? Ironically enough, I was talking about him when he was 29-0. Right now, he's 30-1. But when he was 29-0, I did a video about him as a under-the-radar contender that can possibly move up the ranks and probably fight in some type of eliminator fight. And then lo and behold, about 4 months after that, he gets a fight with David Haye. So I did a video on him before Haye was even brought up. But I know he left a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouth for that fight. The Sean Turner was undefeated. Guess who Sean Turner lost to? Kamil Sokolowski, the guy that Price just went damn near tooth and nail with last night. But I expect Gjergjaj to control and Gjergjaj did come back after that David Haye fight. It was months later, but he did pick up a victory. I believe it was a stoppage victory. I don't know. See, I watched a lot of these World Series of boxing fights, man. But if you've seen Matteo Modugno, who is an undefeated heavyweight right now from Italy, if you've seen him fight Sean Turner in the World Series of boxing, I think Gjergjaj should try to fight that type of fight. He almost has the same dimensions as Modugno as far as height and reach. And I know height. I'm not sure about reach exactly, but that type of big, 6'6", 6'7" type of guy, use the jab, throw right hands behind it, keep you on the outside. I'm not sure if he can hit as hard as Matteo Modugno, though, because Modugno hit Turner, I believe it was I think it was a jab right hook, and it put Turner down, and he stopped him. You know what I mean? But if Gjergjaj can do a little bit of that, and the fights that I've seen him have against the journeyman that he fought before he fought David Haye, he didn't look horrible. He didn't. Now, again, it's the level of opposition, but he didn't look super bad, you know what I mean? But if he can kind of utilize what Modugno was doing in his fight with Turner, I think that he can pull out the victory. Turner's going to have to come out there and just try to just wing overhand rights and left hooks. I think it's his best bet. He's a shorter guy. He's about 5'11". Him sitting on the outside trying to box, he's going to get decision. I think he's going to have to just, cross that line in the sand, meaning the end of the jab, cross that line of the sand, the end of the jab of Gjergjaj, and just get inside and try to rough him up and beat him up and just try to catch him cold. Try to catch him cold. Start hitting him with hooks. Try to get him to remember what happened in the David Haye fight. You know what I mean? That's a toss-up to me. I really do. I really think it's a toss-up, but I will lean towards Gjergjaj. I just think his dimensions will be able to beat Turner. You know what I mean? So then the last fight I want to speak on is under the radar is Bogdan Dinu versus Vladimir Tereshkin. Dinu 17-0. Tereshkin is 20-0 with one draw. All right, they're going to be fighting for the vacant WBA Continental title that's just now been previously just got vacated by Povetkin. Povetkin fought Radinko for it. All right. Again, I'm not recognizing it as a major title, but it's just one of those titles that'll break you in the rankings. You know what I mean? And you can move up the ranks in that sanctioned body. In that fight, I'm going to favor Dinu. I've seen Tereshkin fight. He's fought some journeyman guys. I think I recognize one journeyman. And rather than that, nobody notable. At least Dinu, man, he has fought Avery Gibson, who's a tough guy to fight. He actually fought in the World Series of Boxing, Gibson did. Gibson is somebody that has sparred Deontay Wilder hundreds of rounds. He's always in the Wilder's camps. Tricky, durable type of guy that'll give your prospect all types of problems. And he also fought Eric Martel Baholi. Baholi actually had a fight of the year with Dylan Carmen up there in Canada. It was fight of the year in Canada, all right? I believe it was like 2014. I forget exactly what year, but it was a very entertaining fight. And Eric Martel Baholi fought Lucas Brown. There was a little decent type of scrap. But at least Dinu has beat those type of guys. And just when I break down the style, Dinu is a lot. They're both about 6'6", around that, tall guys, jab, right hand type of dudes. But when I break down the style, Dinu seems a lot faster with his punches. Just seem like the more fluid, quicker fighter. I think his defense is better. And I think he has better footwork. Dinu was actually scheduled to fight Adrian Granat, and then that fight got pulled off the table. And then Granat ended up having a replacement, and that replacement was Dimitrenko. Dimitrenko knocked Granat out. But that was a fight I was really looking forward to, Dinu versus Granat, two undefeated prospects trying to break through. But anyways, Tereshkin, when I see him, he's just very straight up, soft opposition. There's some sparring footage of him and Christian Hammer from a few years ago. He looks good against the guys he's fought, but he's just very straight up. He just seems very stiff, man, just in my opinion. But he does have a good jab, right hand, left hook to the body. Again, against guys that are, once they get hit with that, they're like going down. You know what I mean? Nobody's really pressing them or backing them up. In the draw he had, I haven't seen that fight. All right, so, but I'm favoring Bogdan Dinu in that fight for sure. And once he wins this vacant WBA Continental title, I expect him to break through in the rankings and move up and see what he has from there. All right, so let me see what y'all talking about in this comments section. Any news on Povetkin? Antonio McCrae was asking me. No. Oh, no. I'm lying to you. Yes, Povetkin is going to fight Christian Hammer, a WBO title eliminator fight. The last I heard, the winner of that fight will get a shot at Joseph Parker or whoever is holding on to that WBO title. But that Hammer-Povetkin fight is a title eliminator. And Povetkin and his team came out and said that if for whatever reason Hammer pulls out the fight or he gets injured or whatever happens, they have a replacement in place, and it's going to be Kyle Toro Fujimoto. But I expect Hammer to take that fight. TMT, yeah, he pretty much said what I just said. He fights Hammer for the WBO mandatory. What's good, T? D Uso says, hey, bro, showing love from New Zealand and Australia. I appreciate the love, man. Wayne Brewster says, man, I had tickets for Bellew versus Hay, too. Then he says, wonder if Hay is gone. You know, I was just on Dan the Man's Hangout earlier. Shouts out to Dan the Man Boxing. And I was talking about this, man. I thought it was iffy that Hay was going to make it through a full training camp. I really did. Before we even get to the fight and style breakdowns of the rematch, I was thinking to myself, like, man, can Hay even hold up through a full training camp? Because I do believe he does go in there and train hard. You can't look the way he looks without training hard. Now, you may say it's genetics and he just naturally, but you can tell the dude's in shape. And I do believe that Hay does train hard. And I'm just thinking, like, a hard training camp, I'm not sure he can make it through, you know, with his previous injury. And then now it's a brand new, you know, the shoulder thing. Then before that, he quit. He stopped fighting because it was, you know, the injuries and stuff. So, and then his fighting style, man, you know, his fighting style is that of a explosive fighter. He wants to throw explosive combinations, hooks and uppercuts. If you got a bad shoulder, it's going to be kind of hard to fight like that. David Hay isn't the I'm going to win this fight off my jab type of guy. You know, he's not like a Larry Holmes or Vladimir Klitschko where he can just, okay, I'm going to stick to this and beat high level opposition. Nah, he wants to throw hooks up, or he wants to lead with power shots, a la prime Roy Jones Jr. type of thing. A guy who he ironically looked up to, but once that's gone, David Hayes kind of gone. To tell you, against high level opposition, and I consider Bellew good opposition, man. So, and then his mobility, he messed up his Achilles, and that's just not something you can just get over easily, man. And injuries like that, man, where it's not even, there was no physicality involved. It's just one of them injuries where you just, pop it, not even being physical. He didn't get pushed down or they didn't collide or anything. He just kind of, it's one of them injuries where, like I said, there was nothing physical going on. Tough injuries like that, man. And then somebody T says, not just injury, but his mentality from the loss. I think, I think he wants to get back in there. I really do. I think he wants to get back in there, and I think he feels embarrassed that he lost. And I really think that he believes, him, not me as a fan, but I really think that he believes that it was luck. As you heard him say, you can't win the lottery twice, and I really don't think I don't think he respects Bellew's win. I really believe he thinks, you know what, I wasn't 100%. I don't agree with him. I think stylistically, man, it's a good matchup. David Hay, I believe that he thinks that he's like this top 5 heavyweight or something, man, or top 3 heavyweight, or probably the best heavyweight. But Tony Bellew is closer to him than he thinks. Because when he was throwing those hooks and he was missing, Bellew was countering him. And he was landing some good shots on Bellew, and Bellew stood up to him. A lot of people thought, well, shit, if Stevenson was able to knock him out, that's why I don't like the whole triangle theories. And if this guy does it, then this guy's going to for sure do it. Yes, we can, you can bring that up sometimes. I'm not saying it's totally irrelevant, but it doesn't always pan out like that. Because he was hitting Bellew with some good shots. Bellew was taking them joints, man. And then he was countering David Hay effectively. And David Hay started the gas a little bit. So you throw that on top of injuries and he's not the same. This isn't 2009, 2010, David Hay. This is a much older David Hay, man, who that fighting style maybe has ran its course. Joe Frazier's an all-time great fighter, but eventually that fighting style, I'm not saying it's the same fighting style, but sometimes styles run their course. Some guys' styles aren't tailored for them to go in their 40s. You know what I mean? Some guys' styles are just made for when they're in their prime and they look their best at that style then. Some guys just have that longevity. Some guys don't. D. Uso says, bro, who do you think wins out of Joshua Parker? Both are humble warriors. I'm a big Parker fan, but also got love for Joshua. 2 undefeated beasts. I'll favor AJ 55-45. I know a lot of fans. Now, anything can happen, all right? But I think a lot of fans believe he's just going to go in there, land some good right hands and uppercuts, and it's going to be all she wrote for Parker. I don't see it like that. I see him making Anthony Joshua miss. I see him making Anthony Joshua have to adjust and think and use his jab and try to set up right hands and uppercuts. And not only that, put Joshua on the defensive. I think that Parker can mimic some of the movements that Takam was doing. And Takam, I think Parker's a little bit more accurate with his punches. I think he's a faster puncher than Takam. Takam has good punch selection, but some of those punches were just off. They were just off when he was throwing them. The right punch selection, he was aiming for the body. He was aiming for the head with hooks and right, just off a little bit. And that's where I think Parker can implement his game plan. Those same type of punches, hooks, uppercuts, jabs, just has quicker hands, fresher fighter. You know what I mean? So but I see that fight going to decision. I think that fight right there, Parker and AJ, if it gets made, they're talking about this close to being made from both sides now, not just one side. Hearn came out and said it, and so did Higgins, say that it's close to being made. So, but I would favor Joshua in that fight by decision. It could be a controversial decision. Could be a controversial decision. Meaning that I believe he's gonna win some rounds. He's not just gonna win one or two. You know, I believe that dude's gonna win some rounds, man. I think he may even buzz Joshua. And if he gets Joshua in the situation that Klitschko had him in and White had him in, what I mean by that is not only landing something that buzzes him, but get him to the point where his stamina is tested. Let's test that stamina out. Not to say that Parker is the most well-conditioned guy at the heavyweight division. Shit, it might not work in his favor. But I haven't seen Parker gas as much, and I've seen him in different varieties of fights with AJ when he's fighting downhill, in my opinion. Meaning downhill, meaning when it's all just one-sided, coming forward, throwing combinations, landing bombs. It's easy to have, you know, to keep your condition under control in those type of fights. You're just having your way. You know what I mean? He looked like the most well-conditioned athlete when he's fighting Eric Molina, Charles Martin, guys, you know, guys in fights where he's just having his way. When he got pressed a little bit, when he's missing, when he's getting tagged, he gets a little bit winded. Now, I'll give him his credit. He caught his second win. Vladimir is an older fighter. He's much older than when he was in his prime or 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe Parker won't let him off the hook. Dillian White wasn't trying to let him off the hook. Just Dillian White was throwing wild, man. That's one thing about Dillian. He throws wild ass shots sometimes, man, where he's trying to mix it up sometimes. You know, he throws wild shots, but Parker may not let him off the hook if he happens to buzz Joshua. Then, like I said, Parker, I've seen him in a variety of fights, man, where it's not just all one-sided. The Ruiz fight, Ruiz was trying to put pressure on him. He didn't seem to gas or, you know, stumble around, or you can tell he's super exhausted. The Takam fight, even the Fury fight, the Huey Fury fight, when he's chasing Fury around, I didn't see him, you know, those are, you know, on the back foot and coming forward, and the fights where it's just all one-sided. Haven't seen him like that. And one thing about the way Parker's built, man, big solid calves, legs, guys, you know, them heavyweights like that, man, look as if he can take a shot. And that doesn't mean everything, but that's just one thing that I do consider. And his neck, you know what I mean? So, look, that dude like he can take a shot, man. And Joshua, to me, isn't this huge one-punch artist or anything like that. To me, he put his punches together type of guy. Not to say that one of his punches couldn't catch you, but he seemed like he puts his punches together and racks up accumulation. But then people look at that and say, but he knocked out everybody. It's like, yeah, but a lot of those knockouts wasn't one-punch knockouts. Wayne Brewster says, is it weird that I want to see Shannon Briggs again? Saw him at the O2 in the undercard of Hay versus Gjergjaj. Fun dude. Yeah, man. If you were subbed to my channel probably a few months ago, Briggs has a great personality in his current era, man. I like the whole Let's Go champ, you know, invading press conferences. Some of these guys should take a page out of his book as far as marketing themselves, man. Really, to tell you the truth. But he was the theme to my intro to my channel. You know, the whole Let's Go champ thing. Briggs, you know, Briggs' name was being mentioned, well, according to him, a few months ago. Well, shit, more than a few months ago. But before Povetkin fought, I want to say Radinko, was it? Maybe it was after the Radinko fight. I know that Briggs, according to him, he was saying that he might have a fight that's going to be signed with Povetkin. You know, and that obviously didn't fall through for him. I know Briggs won a big fight, man, but that last failed test, whether you think it's bogus or it's bullshit or it's a scam, that's cool. But what happened is he didn't get the fight with a kendo. He didn't get the fight for that regular title. Maybe, just maybe, he can try to, I don't know, because a kendo is going to get that title shot against Char. That's going to happen. And I think Char, although it's the regular title, And in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't mean, it's not really significant in my opinion. But he can get a fight in his hometown, and it can be, quote unquote, he's a champion, so he want, fight a kendo in a winnable fight. Maybe after that, probably give Briggs a shot. Briggs will definitely sell the fight, and I do think it's a winnable fight for Char. I do. I think Char versus Briggs is a winnable fight for Manuel Char. Um, so maybe, like I said, or maybe Briggs show up to when Char versus Akendo gets signed, and if Briggs show up to the, just show up to the fight and do it all over again. You know what I mean? I can see it now. Yeah, chump, I'm the champ. You got my belt, chump. Just show up and do that type of thing, man. And I'm sure the crowd would be into. We could probably sell that type of fight. But I'm sure if Char defends his title against Okendo and he wins the fight, he may be trying to get a Joshua fight. He may do the whole, well, I'm the regular champ and you're the super WBA champ. We need to fight, that whole thing. We need to fight to really iron out who's the real champ, or try to use some weird angle. Or maybe he stays away from AJ. But then AJ's going to be occupied with other things though. Parker, and then just other big fights that us fans want to see. But I'm just saying from Char's angle, from his point of view. Delboy says, what do you make of Simon King as a prospect? Canadian heavyweight, Olympian, Simon King. He definitely looks the part. Didn't he just beat Avery Gibson? Did he fight Avery Gibson? He fought one of the notable journeymen that's tough for your prospect. Want to see more of him. He's one of them guys I want to see what his stamina looks like, man. Because he has a lot of muscle. He's heavily muscled. I want to see what his stamina looks like. If his stamina can hold up, obviously he has some pedigree. Want to see what his stamina looks like. And I would like to see them guys up in Canada mix it up, man. Because you got Alexander Teslenko up there, who's a damn good prospect. He moved his career to Canada. Then you got Oscar Rivas up there as well. So Rivas is going to be back. He's going to fight, what's the dude's name? Salazar? Some guy, ironic, I never heard of the guy, which is kind of crazy because I know damn near, I know a lot of the journeyman guys too. But he's going to be back, Rivas is. But there's some guys up there in Canada, man, they need to start fighting. Let me see. Antonio McCrae says Parker will win it by late round TKO due to exhaustion. Possibility, bro. It's a possibility. I don't think people are really factoring that in, man. You get fatigued. Everybody's not going to let you off the hook. And you can say, well, that was Vladimir Klitschko. I don't give a damn if it was Jesus Christ. Everybody's not going to let you off the hook all the time, man. Or let you be able to get your second win. And I do think that's going to be something that's going to... that's just one of his... y'all give me a second, man. Get this chair. I think that's one of Anthony Joshua's weaknesses, man. I mean, everybody has a weakness, you know what I mean? So we can't just try to sit here and pretend like these guys don't have weaknesses. I think that's one of his weaknesses, is he gets a little bit winded sometimes. And his technique was kind of going out the window because he was exhausted, dead tired. And even in the White fight, his hands was dropping a little bit. Exciting. It makes for exciting fights when guys are tired because they're slugging it out, you know what I mean? But I do think that's one of his weaknesses. But I'm going to still go with AJ in that fight over Parker, though. Carl J says, just watch Price fight. He looked tired in the 6th round. Yeah, I said that. After the fight, he looked exhausted. Sokolowski looked like he could have won a few more rounds. Man, had that been like a 10-rounder, I think Price may have got upset, man. Seriously. Fatigue is a big thing, man. Like, people, the Fury fight, right? The Fury Klitschko fight. People say that's the most. A lot of fans say that's the boringest fight I've ever seen for a heavyweight title fight. You can have that opinion. That's fine. I'm not here to try to change anybody's mind. But for Tyson Fury, as big as he is to move around the ring like that, it kind of gives you appreciate. Well, for me, it gives me an appreciation to see a big guy move like that and hold that up for 12 rounds. When you got guys out here that are dead tired after 6, weigh 270 pounds, 80 pounds. A guy like Jarrell Miller is another guy. It gives you a little bit more appreciation for those guys. No matter what you think of their style or they're hittable, and you can factor those things in when you're breaking down the fight. But that stamina, man, I'm telling you, man, that stamina. Joseph Olsen says, a really good radio interview with Kevin Barry. He speaks a lot of talking points. I'm going to check it out. I'm trying to check that out. Mark Parmley says, I see Molina has backed Wilder to KO Joshua despite AJ beating him more convincingly. Yeah, you know, Mark, man, I really don't get into that. I mean, we can say that, but maybe there's something that he sees just because he got beat and, you know, he's like the guy in the middle of all this, but maybe he sees something. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's because he's American. Okay. But maybe there's something that he sees, you know, maybe there's something that he sees stylistically, you know what I mean? Yes, AJ looked, like I said, downhill. AJ looked, if that was a downhill fight, it was completely one-sided. So for the fan, it's like, dude, you didn't even hit AJ. But Wilder, you rocked Wilder. But then people got to factor in, Wilder put Molina down a few times, man. He knocked them out highlight reel. That was highlight reel stuff. So it wasn't like he went unscathed in the Wilder fight. But yes, AJ came out looking dynamite, you know what I mean? As far as not getting hit, not taking any punishment, downhill, looks like the second coming, you know what I mean? But maybe there's something stylistically that he sees between those two, not so much what they did to him. Now, if he says, I think Wilder's performance against me was better, well, then shit, you can argue that. Maybe he probably feels as if, shit, man, I hit Wilder with a good left. I hit him with a good shot, and he was able to recover from that, me buzzing him and put me down. And you know what I mean? Who knows what he sees, man? But I can understand why a fan would say that, though. But to me, I factor in different things. But Delboy94 says, any news on Adam Konowski? I heard he was supposed to fight Gerald Washington, but nothing since. I'm actually cool with a member of Gerald Washington's team, and I text him around that time when that was going around, and he said there's nothing on the table yet. But he didn't say that that's a possibility. The message I got was there's nothing on the table for Gerald, so I'm not sure. Could that fight may have been pitched, and it's and the rumor's true, possibly, but there's nothing, nothing that I know of so far. And if that is the case, got to give Gerald props, man. You know, going in against Wilder, then getting in against Miller, then getting in against Konowski, because Gerald still wants to get one of these big victories, man. He's not trying to just be the journeyman guy. He really believes he can win these fights. That Wilder fight, you guys remember, I actually interviewed Gerald. You guys go out, check out my playlist of the fighters I've interviewed. I interviewed Gerald, and we talked offline for about 40 minutes. But so funny, that's another one of those fights, kind of like the Gjergjaj thing when I did a video on him before he even was being mentioned to fight. Hey, that Gerald Washington fight with Wilder, I thought their styles were going to be intriguing 9 months before they actually fought. I did a video one day, and people thought I was saying the craziest shit, like, what, he'll get knocked out in 30 seconds? And I'm sitting there like, you really think he'll lose in 30 seconds, man? Like, okay. But stylistically, because Wilder likes to be patient, especially when a guy is using a jab, making him think a little bit, Wilder will be patient. And in the meantime, him being patient, he could be outpointed and lose rounds doing that. And I was just thinking, like, man, if Gerald can be elusive enough or can take his shot, which proved, he couldn't take it, how that fight looked going into 11th, 12th round. And even Gerald was saying, yeah, so I interviewed him. It was like a week before, what's the guy that pulled out? What's my man's name? The Polish fighter, Andre Wojcik. It was like a week before he pulled out, and I just posed a question. I said, Gerald, man, for any reason, if this Wardrick cat pulls out, would you be ready to fight Wilder? Would you raise your hand to step in? He said, certainly. And then literally a week later, dude pulled out. Gerald gets the fight. That whole sequence was crazy. Money Man was good, man. He says Wilder will be undisputed no matter how long Hearn tries to push it off. Hashtag Alabama shit. It's a good possibility, you know. It's a good possibility that Wilder can become undisputed champion. I can't wait for all these fights to unfold, man, so we can see as fans, you know what I mean? We can sit back and just watch it unfold. Hearn, here's what I believe. Regardless of what he says, my opinion is I think Hearn, regardless of ticket sales, Twitter followers, money, stadium talk, superstar, he has 19 or 20 fights. He has 39 fights. I have 20. Regardless of all that talk, when it's all said and done, he's been pro for 9 years. I've been pro for 5. When all that's done, I believe that Hearn thinks that Wilder is the biggest threat because he's rangy, he has power, he's confident. Yeah, he has some deficiencies, but it's a threat. And I believe that Hearn thinks that he is the threat. Now, some people may say it's Luis Ortiz. He's younger. You know, Wilder's a lot younger than Ortiz. You know, so that's just what I think. You know, but I know if you hear Eddie Hearn, he'll say something. He can say what he wants, man. You know what I mean? The guy can say what he wants. One Stinkfish, your thoughts on the latest WBA rankings? Okendo as #1. I haven't looked at the brand new rankings, but I did hear about Okendo being #1. I think that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, man. It's just, and nothing against Fred Okendo as a man. I'm not trying to shit on him, but I'm saying those rankings are ridiculous. But all these sanctioned body rankings are ridiculous. Stiverne is number 15. The fact that the WBC is still holding on to Stiverne being in their top 15. Come on, man. The dude was already out for years. He fought Rossi, didn't look great, got knocked down. People that were there that I know on Twitter were saying it was a debatable fight. Then he gets knocked out one round, easy work, and he's still in the top 15. And then you got Okendo, who hasn't fought since he lost a close fight to Gjergjaj. He had the rematch clause in his contract. Shouts out to his team negotiating that because they fought. I believe that title was vacant. Was that title vacant? I believe that title was vacant. Gjergjaj beats him. They have a rematch clause. He gets hurt. Then I believe he got hurt again. It's either he got hurt 2 times in a row to set the fight up, or he got hurt. Then Gjergjaj, they went to court. Gjergjaj ended up defending it once against Pianata. Then they scheduled the fight again after the Pianata fight. Then he got hurt again. I know he got hurt twice, and it just prolonged everything. You know, so him being #1 is it's just not right, man. It's not right. But there's a lot of guys in some of these rankings where I'm looking and I'm like, huh? That guy hasn't fought in damn near a year. Or when he did fight, he fought a journeyman. And before that, he fought a journeyman. And before that, he fought a journeyman. Before, you know, so Huey Fury being the mandatory. I know people say, well, at least he beat Radinko. Okay, but it wasn't like Radinko was rated #2. You know what I mean? But Radinko is a tough guy. He just went 12 with Povetkin, but that wasn't a title eliminator. That was just a step-up fight for a prospect against a tough guy with a good record type of fight, but it wasn't like a title eliminator or anything like that. He fought Fred Cassidy, although Fred Cassidy's a very tricky fighter, had a debatable fight. I mean, now when I look at it, man, they're good fights for Huey Fury, but it wasn't no title eliminator type of thing, man. It's like the days of like #1 versus #2 type of thing. It's like that shit's just down the drain. I was just picking and choosing. Joseph Olson says, or hold on, let me get to this other question. Carl J says, Mr. Boxing, what's happening with Charles Martin nowadays? Anyways, he came back. He's had, I believe it was 2 journeyman fights. And then I believe he said something about Dominic Brazil wanting to fight Brazil, or the fight might be close. But I'm assuming Brazil is looking for a Wilder fight, although the WBC reneged on, because at first they put it out there that the the Brazil and Molina fight was going to be a WBC eliminator for the mandatory spot, which is another, just again not making any sense. How can at that time Brazil was rated number 6, and Molina was number 12. How can the number 6 guy, number 12 guy be for a title eliminate? I mean, for the mandatory spot, the eliminator for the mandatory. Doesn't make any sense at all, man. If any, and then they had the other eliminator fight, which was White versus Helenius. That one shouldn't be for the mandatory either. The thing that makes the most sense, ding, 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 is fucking White versus Brazil. Like, how hard is this, man? How hard is it to not know that, you know, if you're taking Ortiz out the equation, but he's back in the rankings too. So yeah, but with Martin, man, he was saying something about Brazil. Martin is still a big, young southpaw, young meaning young in the game. You know what I mean? He's not old. He's not 39, 40, 42, 43 years old. He's taking boxing serious again. Every video I've seen him in, when he's at fights, when he shows up to the arena to watch fights, when I see him down in the Crunk gym training, or he's out in California training and sparring, he looks to be in really good shape. I want to see more of him. You know, he's still a southpaw, man, that he's still a big, strong southpaw that'll give some guys some problems. Just because Joshua was able to do what he did to him doesn't mean that's going to happen with everybody he fights, but when the going gets rough for him in fights, how will he behave? Will he behave like a fighter? I'm assuming he will. You know, his best victories, Joey Dweco, I think that's his best win. He beat Tsar Glaskov, but that was due to injury. Although what was going on in that fight, I think Martin was getting the best of all the posturing and posing and probing with the jab. I think he was getting the best of Glaskov for that couple rounds they fought, but I want to see more of Charles Martin, man. Probably a fight with Adam Konowski, maybe a fight with Gerald Washington. I know him and Gerald, I think they're cool with each other, but I'd like to see a fight like that. Maybe Andy Ruiz, something like that. I'd love to see that. Joseph Olson says, Kevin Berry said he's confident that a deal will be signed within 7 to 10 days. Great. It's a great fight. You know, I know a lot of other fans want to see Wilder AJ first. You know, but me, man, like I say, if it's a step closer to undisputed, I'm gonna stay consistent with what I've been saying since I've started making videos 8 years ago, 7 years ago here on YouTube. Want to see undisputed champion at heavyweight. Well, at every weight class, but specifically at heavyweight. So I like that fight. Just like I would have liked Wilder versus Parker, you know. So any mix of those 3 guys fighting for one step closer to for undisputed, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. Wayner Brewster says, I want to hear your voice on Showtime, All Access, and see you on ESPN. I'm eating with my kids and listening to your great live stream. Great job, bro. I appreciate that, man. Shit, if Showtime ever hit me up, I'll definitely do a voiceover. I've actually got little other YouTube platforms. Like, it's this one, I forgot the name of that channel. I think it's called VF1. It's like a one-on-one basketball. What's it called? V1F or VF1. If you guys look it up, you put that in the search box. I believe they got close to like 100 subs right now. 100,000 subscribers right now. And they were asking me about doing some voiceover work for the one-on-one games. Let me see here. I think some of you guys are commenting with each other. G. Dorman, he says Price has dropped the weight and still wouldn't have made a 10-rounder. I agree. Drop the weight, because I remember when they were saying, yeah, we're going to put on more weight. And again, like I said, maybe you just joined, bro, but I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, you already got stamina issues. So that just made me think he was putting on more weight to protect his chin. Put on more muscle. I mean, even if it's muscle, it's like, put on more muscle for what? We know that muscle don't win you a fight anyways. So it has to, It's not, look, it's not going to help your stamina, and muscle don't win you fights. So I just thought it was to try to protect his chin. That's what I thought. So then they lost the weight, and he still was winded after 6. He was gassing. Delboy94 says Sokolowski is a very good journeyman. I wouldn't mind Dubois fighting. So you're right. He is, man. He's right up there with Avery Gibson and Juan Good and Jamal Woods. He's one of those dudes, man, where it, it may look sweet on paper, like, oh, I'm fighting that guy who's, 4-13 or whatever. Oh, it's easy work. And then you go in there and you just went through a damn 8-rounder tooth and nail with this dude. You know what I mean? Or you hit him with some good shots and he didn't really go anywhere. As Dillian White. Although some guys were able to stop him, but everybody's not. I mean, he's not one of them journeymen that's getting iced in every damn fight. And he came to win that fight against Price. He came to win, man. He came to win. Trying to fill some more questions here. Joseph Olsen. Okay, I'll look for that interview, man. Hey, after this stream is over with, leave a comment for me to check it out because I'll probably end up forgetting. But just whatever it is you want me to try. I forgot already, man, talking about all these other things. But just leave me. I'm sure it's an interview, or it's either an interview you want me to check out, or maybe another YouTube channel. A few of you were saying something about YouTube channel and interviews. So after this live feed's over, just leave it in the comment section. That's another thing. YouTube makes me, for these live streams, when they're over with, YouTube makes me individually have to approve all the comments on the archive video. Like once this is over with and you guys come to it on my normal, just you come to the channel to watch the video. So if I don't get to it, man, I'm just off YouTube, and when I come back, I'll approve it. The Celtic Magician says, people always say, oh, but Fury didn't knock out Klitschko. Fury didn't have to change anything he was doing. Yeah, Fury went in there and fought like Fury. You know what I mean? He didn't have to go in there and fight like Mike Tyson. No, he went in there and kind of, he just sullied the things that Vladimir wanted to do. And another thing that Vladimir he wasn't able to take advantage of is being a stronger guy in the clinch. I know we're talking about clinching, right? This is boxing. This is an MMA. But what I mean by that is when Klitschko wants to hold, he wants to jab 1-2 or lead left hook or lead right hand. But when you get close, he wants to hold. And he's always just been bigger and stronger than everybody. And if you were as tall as him, he was stronger than you. He just clinched you till the ref broke it. Whereas Fury was damn near looked like he was stronger than him in the clinch. I'm not talking about physique. I'm talking about physicality. When their bodies up against each other, he looked like he was just as strong or stronger. So when they got to that position, Klitschko couldn't land little chipping shots, or he couldn't take control. And he was outboxing Klitschko from the outside with his jab, movement, sticking his tongue out, just playing mind games, just conning him almost, man. Making him hesitant. He mentally beat Klitschko. Antonio McCray says Wilder's power and speed is super threat. Yes, it is. People say that, get out this chair. People say that he's wild, and okay, you can say what you want, but them wild-ass punches be coming very fast, man. And like I said before, Jarrell Miller is a Wilder rival. So he's not the guy that you want to look to say very nice things about Deontay Wilder. But even he said, yeah, he throws some windmills, but if he hits you one of them motherfuckers, you might go to sleep. But then Wilder, he has his ways of sneaking good, clean, straight punches in between all that sometimes. That jab that landed on Stavern was followed by a right hand right down the pike. He never saw it coming. That jab blinded him. He stepped in. Yeah, he stepped in with a jab and a hard right hand. And he never recovered from that straight punch. It was that straight right that got him, knocked him down first. He never recovered. Dubois says, I was impressed with Washington against Wilder. Boxed very well for the first 4 rounds. Yeah, man. Yeah, he did. And when I made that, like I said, when I made that video 9 months before they fought, I was like, man, that's a fight I want to see. Y'all go look that video up. Y'all will crack up at the comments. Like, people, oh, you tripping, man. What are you talking about? First round knockout. I'm like, okay, man. But stylistically, I think it's very intriguing. The size, the way that Washington likes to fight. They both like to be patient. And if you're just looking at it from afar, it was just like the Malik Scott fight against Wilder. I know how it turned out. I'm just saying, going into the fight, you watch Malik Scott train, the way this guy moves his head and footwork and combination punching, he looks technically better. He's more technically sound from that, you know what I'm saying, from that standpoint, as far as the way he looks when he fights and his movements and things like that. And I thought Washington was on par or even technically better. But you know, that's why I thought it had been intriguing. So I wasn't surprised that he won the first 4 rounds, to tell you the truth. And I wasn't surprised with the knockout either. That's why I wanted to see that fight. Not that I was lobbying for it to happen first, but it was just one of those videos where I was like, man, what do y'all think would happen if this fight took place, Wilder versus Washington? But during that time, I was lobbying for Wilder versus Povetkin. So let me just make that clear. And Joshua. I was lobbying for that fight. So you guys remember, man, before Joshua won that title, I believe he was rated as high as like #4 by the WBC. That was a fight that I was talking about before Joshua won the title. I've been wanting to see that for a while. I've been wanting to see them dudes fight for a while. 2015, I think, was the first video I made about Wilder and Joshua, saying that that's a fight down the line that I want to see. The Celtic Magician says, unrealistic, but Price versus Washington would be an interesting matchup. I would favor Washington in that fight. I think it would be interesting, especially early. Price knowing that, hey, a good right hand probably can do some damage on this guy. But Price, if he was kind of fighting with the jab, quick right hands, because he was throwing little quick rights and little chipping shots, he might do that against Washington too. And I think Washington can do that with him. I think they can go back and forth with that. And I think Washington is in better condition than him. So going down the stretch, I would favor Washington. To me, Price would have to, I would favor Washington in that fight. But the dude does have a good right hand, man, when he can land it and it's consistent. But I do not trust his stamina at all. Gerald was getting pressured by a big 300-pound dude who has a crazy work rate for a guy that size, just for a heavyweight period, and to be that and physical like that. And then he was in there with a guy that has one punch power, probably arguably the best in the division of Wilder. So certain things he was looking at in his fights. Price, the Erkin Tapper fight, the 2 Tony Thompson fights, and he actually hurt Thompson. Then the Christian Hammer fight, he actually was having some success against Hammer. It would be an intriguing fight though. I'm not gonna lie. But I would favor Washington though. Antonio McCrae says Martin versus Brazil would be interesting. Yeah, it would be. Grimace08 was good. He says, bro, who is Big Daddy fighting next? Why did he pull out a Kuzman fight? Better not be another fucking bum. I heard that, I think I was hearing Dillian White. Although I think that's crazy. Well, no, it's not. It's not a crazy fight to put together, but just White and Miller makes so much sense. But I think that fight makes a lot of sense, especially on the undercard of Joshua versus Parker, if and when that fight gets signed. Hearn is working with White and Miller. Make that fight. Now, some people may argue, why would he do that when Miller is trying to wait for his shot at Joshua? Obviously, that's why he signed with Hearn, or one of the reasons. But my thing is, okay, but in the interim, you can still fight Dillian White. Like, we can't, like, these guys, I'm not saying Miller is doing this, but I'm saying some fans have the idea, and I'm not saying any of you, but some fans I've seen leave comments like guys should just all wait. Pretty much all fight journeyman and just wait for your shot. Nah, save your O. I don't like that mindset, man. I just don't like that mindset. But Yeah, Lucas Brown, the Kuzman fight didn't go down. Kuzman ended up fighting Mansoor. I do think that Mansoor and Kuzman still have some unfinished business. And from those first 3 rounds, I had Mansoor winning what was going on in that fight. But that's another fight. Kuzman was standing on top of Amir as Amir was moving around a little bit. And I knew sooner or later in that fight, well, I have a feeling that sooner or later in that fight, they would have stood flat-footed. I really believe that. Because Mansoor is that type of guy, and Kuzman, that's his type of style too. We just never got to that point. Just unfortunate, man, because I really thought that was gonna be explosive, and it kind of hate the way that it ended. Both guys, you know, unfortunate. Mansoor's another guy that's been put through all types of eliminators by the WBC and fighting for all type of minor WBC titles, and they never even ranked the guy, man. That's kind of bullshit, man. No, it is not kind of. That is bull, man. That's bullshit. Antonio McCrae says, is it true about Wilder turning down $10 million for AJ fight, or is it just more Eddie Hearn BS? What I heard, it was 10 million pound over in the UK, which equals about 13 million over here, maybe a little bit more, somewhere around there, US dollars. I like to hear from Shelly Finkel. And it's true that Eddie Hearn said it, but I don't know how true it is. I mean, you know what? And to me, man, is right now the fan base between both guys. Literally, Eddie Hearn can say, and I'm being honest, man. Eddie Hearn can say, I saw Deontay Wilder get smacked by a pedestrian and didn't do anything and start crying. He could say some shit like that. People like, yeah, yeah, you know, like, and they'll believe it. Now, some of you may say, man, that's a bad example. No, what I'm saying is he can say anything about Wilder and they'll believe it. On the flip side, a lot of Wilder fans just think Hearn is flat out lying all the time. Me, I have the mindset that promoters lie. They do. Finkel isn't a promoter. He's a guy that tries to make deals. He's a kind of a straight shooter type of person. He's worked with Mike Tyson. This money thing to him, he worked with Mike when Mike was making crazy money. So to him, there's good money involved, but to him, been there, done that. That's why I like Finkel. He's kind of like one of those been there, done that type of dudes. You know what I'm saying? So he gonna give you straight answers. Yes, he is working with Wilder, but I think he's more of to give you straight answers than DeBella and Hearn, in my opinion. Yes, he is Team Wilder, but just his experience of working with guys who made crazy paydays. I want to hear what he has to say about this alleged deal that was offered and was turned down. And then again, I heard something about that Hearn said that he was going to give Wilder what he wanted, which was, you fight Dillian White, I'll attach AJ. Okay, cool that he said that, but I know like a week before that he was saying that AJ and White are two different businesses to him. You know what I mean? So you can't. I'm not going to put that in the contract and paperwork that if you beat White, you fight AJ. Then AJ even came out and said something about it when he had the interview with IFL, saying that, hey man, his business ain't got nothing to do with my business. If you fight White, you just fight White. But I'm not going to be in no contract. So how can a week later be different? Guys can change their mind, but that's what I'm saying. I'm just lost with all this sometimes. It's like every day can be a different damn story. You know, so to me, man, call me when the fight's made. But all this he say, she say, and back and forth, back. It just comes down to who you believe, man. That's what I believe. That's what I think. It comes down to who you believe. 503 line, what's good, bro? He says, do you like Dubois? I heard he gave that work in sparring. I'm assuming you talking about the Wilder fight or the Wilder sparring. And I'm going to get to the questions that was asking me before that, about to see 503 join the chat. But I like him as a prospect. I think he's a good prospect. I want to see more. There's some things you know, when I look at these big guys, man, they're all 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", damn near. So, but I don't think the jab should be a lost art. I really don't. And I think it does nothing but benefit a big guy if he can win rounds off his jab. Just because, like, what happens if your right hand gets hurt? You need that experience of being able to dominate a fight off a jab. But I want to see Dubois develop his jab. I know he can punch hard. We know that. Still be aggressive. I'm not saying go in there and change his style for my sake, but still be aggressive. But just show that that jab can also win a whole round if he had to. Develop that. Develop some head movement. Keep working on his footwork. Just keep growing as a fighter. I don't think he's learned everything he needs to learn yet. But he has a fight coming up with Dorian Darch. You probably missed that part of the live stream. I talked about that. And they're going to compare that fight. If you haven't seen the fight, go watch the Joshua versus Darch fight, Dorian Darch, and they're going to compare both performances. He fights him on December 9th. So, and I'm going to, I'm going to look at it too. I'm going to, although it doesn't mean nothing if they fight each other, if Dubois was to fight AJ, but just for comparison's sake, just to see how they both took care of business, I'm assuming he's going to win this fight pretty impressively. All right, let me scroll back up here. The Celtic Magician says Martin could be tricky for a few fighters if he don't lay down like he did against Joshua. I agree, man. He just didn't behave. And some people were saying, now he was getting hit now. It wasn't like he wasn't getting hit, but when he got up, it just seemed like he had a lot more fight in him, and him trying to beat the count and trying to, it just, I don't know, man. That's what happens when we get spoiled with guys like Evander Holyfield, Lennox, Lennox Lewis. When we get spoiled with that, then we see something like this. Ugh. Stuck in Kiev says, hey, Mr. Boxing, do you think Parker has strong confidence coming into AJ? Did you see some mental weakness in the Huey Fury fight, or was Huey just too negative for anyone to do much against? Yeah, he was moving a lot. And if Huey would have implemented some stand and trade for, throw 5 and 6 punches at a time, could have possibly won the fight had he not got clipped and hurt. But if he was able to be successful by landing some punches and at least keeping Parker at bay, and when he did throw those 5 and 6s, at least land 3 out of 6, 2 out of 5, that type of thing, and kept that up, probably could have won the fight because the movement was excellent. Just didn't throw much. Excellent movement, just didn't throw much. And I'm not a fan of he ran, because if that's the case, then you should never like a guy like Ali and Larry Holmes because they're runners, right? I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying a lot of fans, they call having good footwork running. Some guys only appreciate coming forward footwork. That's not how boxing is, man. Side to side, coming forward, going backwards. It's all footwork. But some fans, they just appreciate the coming forward footwork, or no footwork at all. Flat-footed, fight me, quote unquote, fight me like a man type of shit. But nah, it was just a tricky style matchup, man. Parker, he's having these fights where he's not looking super great in them, but that's, to me, he's probably learning, some learning experiences. He probably needs those type of fights where he's not just, it's downhill for him, meaning, just he can do what he wants. There's nothing coming back. Andrew Ruiz not going to be that type of fighter for anybody. It's not going to, or there will be something coming back. I'm not saying that he couldn't get knocked out or anything, but there will be something coming back, and Andy has a tough chin. Takam, you seen how tough he was. And after that Parker fight, before the Parker fight, I was like, man, this is a tough dude to fight. Go look at that Povetkin fight. Look at the Tony Thompson fight Takam had. He is tough. Then after the AJ fight, now people were seeing. It's like, dude, a lot of us been telling some of you guys that. Parker's been in there with some sturdy comp. The style matchups, too, is just some stylistic matchups, Grimace always says, who do you got in the fantasy? Wilder versus Prime, Iron Mike. Before I even finish, bro, Tyson. I think Tyson beats Wilder. I think people ask me these things a lot with Wilder. Holmes beats him, Foreman beats. And I'm not trying to shit him. I just think they're just levels above him stylistically. I just don't see how he can hold up. I know the big right hand, but some of these guys were getting, man, I just stylistically, I think it's just his best matchup for him. I think he could beat some of the past fighters. Like I think he could beat Greg Page and Jerry Coetzee and those some of those guys. Maybe even Oliver McCall. I think he could beat some of those guys. But when it comes to that upper echelon, I'm not sure about that. Maybe even possibly beat a Ray Mercer. You know, Tim Witherspoon. It could probably be some of those guys, but not the Tysons, Lewis. I just don't see him beating those guys. But it's different eras, you know. So who really knows what? Let me see here. But let me go ahead and just finish reading your question though. You says prime or okay, who do you got in a fantasy Wilder versus prime Iron Mike? He never fought a 6'7", 83-inch reach guy like Windmill. You reckon Windmill? But y'all be tripping me out with these nicknames when y'all be going at fighters, man. People be saying AJ, Juicy J. Y'all be tripping me out. But like Windmill, you reckon Mike could get inside and spark him, or Wilder keeps him at bay until that straight right hand, good night, lands. Um, I don't necessarily think height is everything. I believe reach and how you utilize everything. Look at a guy like Spilker. Yes, he did get put in a coma, but the rounds that he was having some success when he was moving, if Spilker's head movement and bobbing and weaving get you off a little bit, what you think gonna happen when Mike do it? And Dubois was having some success invading Wilder's jab. And he's a tall guy, but he was fighting like a small guy, just putting the high guard up, coming forward. There was nothing special about what Dubois was doing besides putting up the high guard, taking shots. And he was able to swell Wilder's eyes up. So if he's able to do that, you give me a fast prime Tyson who is right up on you that fast, shit. I think he knocked Wilder out. And Wilder was fighting some guys with good movements and good jabs, man. You may look at a guy like Tyrell Big and say, oh, he's garbage. You know, go on BoxRec, look up his record and who he lost. But that dude was a gold medal winner. He could move. He had a good jab. Even Larry Holmes in that fight, he was past it. But Larry has some rounds in there where he was moving, popping that jab. Look at the Tillis fight against Mike. Mike had to deal with some jabs and movements, man. So it wasn't like Mike never dealt with jabs. Tony Tucker. Tucker probably wasn't as tall as Wilder, but he was still, what, 6'6", 6'5", or some shit like that, somewhere around there. So it wasn't like Mike was just fighting, you know, 6'1" guys. Again, he didn't fight nobody 6'7", but he was still fighting some tall guys now. Antonio McCrae says White don't want no smoke from Miller. Well, he definitely don't want no smoke from him on social media. He banned the dude. He banned the dude on social media, man. You know, which was crazy that he banned him on social media because he's a guy that likes to talk a lot of shit. So for him to ban somebody from talking shit to him is kind of crazy, you know. But I couldn't believe he did that though, man. That he banned him on social media. But that's a fight that could be made. So to me, keep building it up. Talk shit to each other. Why not keep talking shit to each other? Why would you ban a guy that talks as much shit as you do on social media and you guys are working with the same promoter? It makes no sense to me. I know White's trying to lobby for a fight with Deontay Wilder, you know, just like I know Miller's trying to lobby for a fight against Anthony Joshua. I'm sure that's, like I said, one of the reasons why he signed with Hearn. Let me see here. Carl J says Israel Gono has gone quiet. Would love to see him back in the mix too. Yeah, me too, man. He has nothing to hang his head down. I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but that was a war he had with Dominic Brazil. He put Brazil down. Had a chance to, you know, get him out of there. Brazil can take an ass whooping, man. The Celtic magician says, Larry Holmes thinks Joshua would beat Iron Mike. Yeah, a lot of these old legends be saying some crazy stuff. Just like Mike Tyson, now a lot of us fans assume he was talking about Luis Ortiz. We assume he was. But if you guys go check that video out that I did on YouTube where I said that Mike had came out and said, Mike said something to the effect that the Wilder Joshua fight really didn't make sense. It was something like that, and Joshua should be fighting Mike Perez. And a lot of us was just thinking like maybe Mike got the Cuban fighters mixed up and he meant to say Luis Ortiz. But in the article it said Mike Perez. So a lot of these legends say what they want, man. You know, I'm not going to get on Larry about that, man. Larry's one of my favorite. He's one of my 3 favorite fighters of all time. I think he's one of the three best heavyweights to ever lace them up. Ali, Holmes, and Foreman. Those are who I believe is the best ever. So if the OG want to say that, man, let them say that. I don't agree that Joshua would have beat Mike Tyson. I think Mike beats Joshua. You know, I just got to see more of these current guys and wait till their career is over with. But from what I see right now, I don't see how Joshua will be able to deal with Mike. 503 Line says, is the heavyweight division back now since Floyd retired, and is AJ doing good numbers in the UK? Shit, according to the stadiums and things like that, you know what I mean? He seems to be doing pretty good for himself. He's very popular over there. People say since Floyd left, I don't really think it had much to do with Floyd. I think it had more to do with the division taking or changing hands from the Klitschko stronghold. Because remember, man, and I remember coming here doing videos about it, people just kept saying this when the Klitschkos were on top. It's boring. I can't pronounce these guys' names. There's no good Americans around. What else were they saying? All these guys are fat. All these guys are not in shape. Yeah, they're tall, but they're big, tall, and goofy, and there's no technique, there's no skill. That's what everybody was saying. And I was telling people, man, we got to just wait for the next wave of prospects and contenders to come in. It took a while, but we're here now. We're here now, man. And when I seen Bryant Jennings, and that's another guy, although he didn't beat Klitschko, but he put up a decent performance against Klitschko, went 12. Went the full 12 at Klitschko. Even was walking Klitschko down. Can you all believe that? Jennings was walking Klitschko down with the high guard, man. I wish Jennings would use his reach more. Dude has an 84-inch reach advantage, man. He fights like a come forward high guard guy, but doesn't use it enough in my opinion. But once I saw that, man, I was thinking to myself, like, man, I think this Klitschko, and I made a video about it, post-fight video. I said, man, this may be I don't know who's going to beat him, but it looks like it's coming to the end of this Klitschko era, man. Because that type of style Jennings was fighting in, Klitschko usually dominates that type of. He won the fight. I'm not saying it was a close on the scorecards, but I'm just saying he looks a lot more dominant in those fights. And I thought Pulev was his last great performance win, you know. And I was even having doubts then. So then when that Fury fight was being made, I picked Vladimir, but I was saying like, man, this is I don't know. This new class of heavyweights, man, may have looked at that fight and seen some weaknesses that they can exploit with Vladimir, and he ended up losing. Took years off, not to his doing or not to him wanting to, but because of what Fury was going through. Then he got in there with AJ and lost again, you know. So, and he's gone now. So some of us fans that had an agreement about that were right. But I think it has to do more with the era changing hands. As far as it being back, it's fresh new faces. And when Klitschko was around, I believe the fight that a lot of fans were excited about, it's easy to look at it now and say, well, man, he dominated that dude. That dude was blaming his toe. Was the David Haye fight? We're excited about that because people thought that, man, he has a style, he's fast, he's quick. You know, he could probably possibly beat Vladimir. Joe Neely, what's up, man? He says, did we cover the Price fight? I've arrived late. Yeah, and I'm about to get off shortly, man. So, and I covered it pretty quickly in the stream. Like the first 10 minutes is about Price and Sokolowski. And then I talked about Bogdan Dinu's fight coming up with Vladimir Tereshkin. I talked about Arnold Gjergjaj's upcoming fight with Sean Turner. Talked about Dubois' upcoming fight with Dorian Darch. I talked about Zhilei Zhang's upcoming fight with Herfy Bow, and I talked about George Arias' upcoming fight with Curtis Harper. The Celtic musician says the Americans are coming up now. Yeah, it's some good names here. They just need to fight each other a little bit more. And there's some guys who've been sitting out. I don't know for what reason, but Trevor Bryan's another guy. He has his best win is against Oh damn, it just forgot who it was against, man. It was the guy that Stavern fought and knocked him down after the Wilder fight. Oh, it's gonna piss me off. Forgot the dude's name that quick. It well not, but it just slipped my memory. Uh, but yeah, man, they need to fight a little bit more. Trevor Bryan's one guy, and there's some good prospects too. Grimace08 says Jennings fighting some bum next week. You rate Hainsworth or is he trash? There's no fight footage, but from what I've read, as far as him sparring, he isn't a guy that's been knocked out 40 times or anything like that. But there's no fight footage on him. Derek Rossi, that's who Trevor Bryan is beating, Derek Rossi. But hey, man, I appreciate y'all joining this chat. Just had boxing on the mind. Just wanted to talk about them, those upcoming fights. Before I go, let me just read this last one. 503 Lions says that the return of Tyson Fury a threat to the champs. Yes, it is. If he's back and he's motivated, probably get one little tune-up fight. Yeah, that style can be all wrong for Joshua, Wilder, Parker, a guy that's tall, rangy, um, confident as hell when he's in there. Yeah, I think that style could be a bad look, bad matchup. Grimace always says White blocked me. I told him to change his record from 19-0 undefeated to 19-1, and he blocked my ass. So Big Daddy, I said to stop fighting bums like Matthew Greer, and I got the flick. Yeah, I've done a video on that before about White having himself still undefeated, and some people may say, oh, it's probably old on his Instagram or is it Twitter? It's one of them, his social media platforms on his main page. No, after he wins fights, he just keeps upping his record to however many fights, and he still has himself undefeated. Oh, so I don't, it's his social media platform, man. If the dude want to put he's 100-0, you can put it up there. But we know that he got beat by Anthony Joshua. Appreciate y'all joining the chat, man. I'm gone.